Okay, so you have got one of my rockets. For example, you're going to print the Red Nova. These rockets have to print in vase mode. Typically, you can only use Prusa Slicer or Simplify 3D to do this. But I just found out today that Flashforge's slicer Flash Print also works. In fact, it slices, it looks like, I haven't tried it yet because I got to dig out my Flashforge printer, but someone is going to be testing it for me. It looks like it slices these files perfectly. So here's how to configure Flash Print to work. Now, the way you know it's working, you have to make sure you turn on retraction and turn on travel. The only time you should see any kind of travel move, see that blue line right there? That's a travel move. The only time you should see that is at the top and at the bottom. And also, this little tool head here, the nozzle, that should basically, except for the top couple layers and the bottom couple layers, that tool head should basically stay in the same spot the whole way up and down the model. If you see that tool head jump around, like you're gonna see it move down this fin, and that's fine. But you'll know what I mean. It's gonna, instead of going down the contour of the model, it's gonna go pop 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 all over the place. That's bad. Okay, you don't want to see that. So when you go through the preview, watch that tool head. See how it stays there? It stays there. It stays there. It's staying on the same axis. That's how you know it's working right. Nice. Good job. This one part I had to rotate 45 degrees to print this on the Adventure 4 series. It was a little too big if I didn't rotate it. So here's how you configure the slicer. The first thing you have to do is go to Preferences, and you have to turn off Auto Layout. Because if Auto Layout is turned on, it's going to put my parts on their side. And you don't want that. You want the parts to stay up and down. Okay, so turn off Auto Layout. And then when you go to start slicing, you're going to click on the button down here on the left-hand side that says Expert Mode. So for printer, leave this all standard. So 0.4, 220C, 55C, that should be fine. Those are temperatures I use. Let's see, what else we want to change? Make sure that you use a fixed layer height, and that both layer height and first layer height are both 0.3 millimeters. Now, if you're printing the larger parts, like the 4-inch rocket, you're going to be using 0.2 millimeter. Oddly enough, when you make the parts smaller, you can actually get away with a larger layer height, which this will increase your print speed by 50%. I do a base print speed of 50 millimeters per second. First layer, I leave all this the same. This is all fine, except I change this to 50 millimeters per second. You want good fusion for these parts. Shells, one shell. And you're going to want to change your exterior speed to 100%, because the entire model is an exterior shell. So it's going to slow the whole thing down 50%. So change that to 100%. Save this as your own separate configuration so that you don't mess up your configuration for your normal prints. Let's see. What else? That's it. Okay. Infill, top layers, 0. Bottom layers, 0. Fill density, 0. Vase mode, yes. Make sure you pick yes for vase mode. Nothing else here should matter because we're not doing any of that. You probably, unless you need it, turn off raft. Although if you are more comfortable with the raft, leave it on. That should be all you have to change in this program to make it work and correctly slice my files. I am blown away that this works so well. Look at that. Beautiful. Let's try another file. Let's bring in the fancy pants nose cone. So remember, the model is off the platform. Do you want to put it on the platform? Say yes. If it asks you to correct errors in the model, say no. Because otherwise it's probably going to delete all the little tricky, sneaky stuff that I put in the model to make it vase mode compatible. Let me show you. So start slicing. We've already configured this. Hit slice. Let's see here. You can hear my sister in the background there. So retractions and travel moves, so we can make sure we see if there's any glitches. But as you can see, I had these little tiny cuts. They're 0.01 millimeters thick. So if you don't, if you allow it to repair the models, it's probably going to delete those. So don't do that. But yeah, that looks perfect. I see no issues with that model. Let's try one more. Let's try the test piece. So here's the repair, delete, or ignore. Hit ignore. I don't know exactly what it's going to do. I don't trust it. So move it into the center. Center. So click on here and go to center and on platform and just leave it there. That's fine. Let's start slicing it. Let's see what that looks like. You're going to print 2 of these test pieces first. I'm going to show you why. Slice preview. Oh, that looks good. I see no problem with that. That looks fantastic. Okay, so if you look here, you'll see these ribs don't actually penetrate the outside of the model, but one of them does. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Come on. So you see this one here, however, is a little different. This one here actually penetrates all the way through the model. So you need to actually make sure that when you print your part, that it doesn't split like that. Okay? You gotta make sure that part doesn't split open like that. So you're gonna print a test piece first, and that's gonna look exactly like this. It's just a fast little test print. You'll actually use these too. These are nice for when you need a little bit of space between models. So for example, my Aquarius, you want a little bit of space between this segment and that segment. So I just print a little, what I call an interstage. So if you look on this model, you're going to find, so you can see the ribs through there, but you see this one is pronounced. That one right there, that's your seam. So you're going to grab this and you're going to give it some squeezing. See, I'm giving that a nice little squeeze. You're going to try to put your fingers in here and gently, not gently, you won't pull, but you'll figure it out. I mean, obviously, if I wanted to, I could rip this thing in half. But, I'm giving this way more force than it's going to experience in flight. And I'm just making sure, see, I'm actually distorting the shape a little bit. I'm just making sure that seam is not coming loose. If that seam comes loose, you need to change the extrusion multiplier or flow rate. Can we do that in here? Ooh, how do you do that? Advanced, enable bridging. Ah, here we go. Extrusion ratio. Under advanced, extrusion ratio. If your parts do too much crinkle when you squeeze them, or if that seam pulls apart, you need to increase this. So their default's 94%. So go to 96%. If that doesn't work, go to 98%. All right, keep increasing that 2% until you print this file and there's no crinkle and you cannot pull apart that seam too easily. Obviously if I squeeze this, I could break it, but you want to make sure that that seam is, see, I'm actually distorting the shape. That's how hard I'm squeezing it. All right. Make sure that seam is strong. Once you have that seam strong, save that configuration, print a second one, and then make sure that they can actually, make sure the 2 parts can actually thread together. There we go. There it goes. So you want to make sure that those 2 parts can actually thread together. Once you have that set up right to where they thread together, then you're good. Now start printing the rest of your parts. But yeah, Flash Print works. Good job, Flashforge.